universally are very sad. I apologize, I forgot to unmute my mic, but we do want to say that we want to welcome you to the show, and that we do want to honor tonight of the memory of Pedro Morales, who died at the age of 76 earlier today. And he is a WWE, he is definitely by far and to many people one of the greatest professional wrestlers of our time, one of the greatest professional wrestlers during especially the 1950s, the 1960s, and he was at the time WWF champion. Um, and he had been one of the great stars of our day. He was survived by his wife, Karen Morales. He has one son, Pedro Morales Jr., um, that was born in 1974. Now, the lineage and the greatness of the great Pedro Morales will be forever etched in professional wrestling history. And let's break down his feats in his wrestling career. First off, he was a 50 state big time wrestling NWA Hawaiian heavyweight champion once, was also an NWA Hawaiian tag team champion on 3 occasions. He was also the AWA San Francisco World Tag Team Champion on 2 occasions there. Then in the Championship Wrestling from Florida, which was a big territory of NWA, he was the Florida Tag Team Champion one time with Rocky Johnson, an NWA Florida Television Champion, the Southern Heavyweight Champion in Florida, and the North American Heavyweight Champion in Hawaii 3 times. NWA World Tag Team Champion in San Francisco, was elected to the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame and Museum in 2015, was Wrestler of the Year by Pro Wrestling Illustrated in 1972, and was ranked 111th in the 500 Best Singles Wrestler during the PWI years in 2003. But the most recognizable feat that he did in his wrestling career was in WWF, the Worldwide Wrestling Federation, or most notably known later in life as World Wrestling Federation. He was an Intercontinental Champion 2 times, was the WWF Tag Team Champion with Bob Backlund, was a WWF United States Heavyweight Champion on 1 occasion, the Worldwide Wrestling Federation Heavyweight Champion, and most notably, that was the Triple Crown, the first man ever to be universally recognized as a Triple Crown winner, and was elected to the WWF Hall of Fame in 1995, which was the 3rd class ever to be enshrined in the Hall of Fame, and was also the Wrestling Observer Newsletter Hall of Fame inductee in 2017. Without a doubt, one of the greatest wrestlers of our time. He passed away basically due to Parkinson's disease, is what is being attributed to his death. And unfortunately, today, as he was pronounced dead in his home in Perth Amboy, New Jersey, which is about a suburb near East Rutherford, which would have been, which is the home of WrestleMania this year. So Pedro Morales is gone at the age of 76, like I said, survived by his wife Karen and his son Pedro Morales Jr. Originally and billed from Correguela, Puerto Rico, and he's had an unbelievable career, wrestling life, and without a doubt, one of the most recognizable names and most loved in the world of professional wrestling. Pedro Morales, a lot of wrestlers giving their condolences, their thoughts and prayers. Some I'll just even talk about. The Iron Sheik goes on the record and says one of the best ever. The Pedro Morales, excellent worker, excellent baby face, excellent businessman, excellent human being. R.I.P. Sean Waltman, aka X Pac. Pedro Morales was a great man. I'm honored to be able to have known him. R.I.P. Pedro Morales, and it continues. All of the great well wishes. One from Bret the Hitman Hart. Goodbye to a great friend. One of the kindest, wisest wrestlers I've ever knew. When I started in the WWE, he told me, you can't stop talent. I followed these words for the rest of my career. R.I.P. Pedro Morales. Another guy, Doug Hayter. Pedro Morales, rest in peace. One of the all-time greats. Let's see, who else? Elijah Burke, or if you know him as the Pope in Impact Wrestling. To my brothers and sisters who knew our business in our life, we should honor all those who come before us and them who are in. Those that are out, them who are on top, and those who are not. Them that have risen, and certainly those who have fallen. Rest in peace, Pedro Morales. There's really nothing more to say, guys. This was a powerful, heartbreaking, devastating loss. It's affected all of us in the wrestling community. And for that, we are grateful, internally grateful for what this man has brought to the wrestling business. We will miss him. We will love him. I know there's some great stories from a lot of, not just from me or Anthony Floyd or Michael Bullock, because Morales was kind of near the end of his career when he started. But when we started watching wrestling, he was definitely near the end of his career. But for the fathers, the grandfathers who were fortunate enough to witness this great individual, I think there's some tremendous stories that will be told for the week, especially in the next few days and the next few weeks, as more tributes and more honor for Pedro Morales do come in. So nothing more to say. Anthony Floyo, come on in. It was a terrible story that was broken earlier today. Is there anything you want to add to this story for Pedro Morales?
Of course, MF, absolutely. I mean, you said it best. Everything you just said. It feels so weird that you're the one that's actually, doing this. I'm so used to being the one who has to bear the bad news because they've always, coincided with Ridiculously Raw, but this one coincides with Cerebral Smack Talk here tonight, and it is a big loss. It's another close to home death. I mean, it's the second legend we've lost this year. Of course, last month we lost Mean Gene Okerlund, and now Pedro Morales passing away. Oh, that's a heartbreaker, man. That's a heartbreaker. And not just to all in the wrestling community, but let's not forget the heart and soul of the Latino community. I mean, he paved the way for so many Latino greats. Let's not forget that. I mean, if not for Pedro Morales, there never would have been an Eddie Guerrero. I don't think there ever would have been a Rey Mysterio. Or all of these Latino legends, like Yamil Mascaras and all these other living legends, in Mexico and Puerto Rico and all the Spanish territories. I mean, he was the heart and soul of that, if I'm going to be quite honest. And MF left out a couple of accolades. In the Worldwide Wrestling Associates, he was their World Heavyweight Champion on 2 occasions, and a Worldwide Wrestling Associate World Tag Team Champion on 4 occasions, and also in the World Wrestling Council two-time North American heavyweight champion, and a one-time World Tag Team champion in the World Wrestling Council. That's Puerto Rico. Carlos Colon Sr. I mean, you know Carlos Colon. He was the one who, paved the way for that. And, very sad indeed. I never knew, Pedro Morales outside of the WWF. I mean, that's all I ever knew. I mean, watching the old school Coliseum home video cassettes that I would always, rent with my dad or somebody from the old video stores back in the day. And a lot of the content had Pedro Morales on it. And it was an honor to see this, this legend, ply his craft. And the very first man to be a record to win all three recognized men's titles, the first Triple Crown winner. You heard Mean Gene Okerlund say that when he introduced Pedro Morales back at WrestleMania 2 as part of the infamous Battle Royal with the WWF and NFL players. One of the most iconic matches in the 35-year history of WrestleMania. And he was a part of that. And I'll tell you, an ambassador for the community, without a doubt. His greatest moment, I would have to say, was when he won the WWF Heavyweight Championship in Madison Square Garden in 1971 when he beat Ivan Koloff. Ivan Koloff was public enemy number one at that time because he beat Bruno Sammartino. He beat Bruno Sammartino in Madison Square Garden. Those fans were legitimately PO'd. That's all I can say on that. But when Pedro Morales took the title off of Koloff, the roof damn near came off of Madison Square Garden. It was almost like the Rangers had won a Stanley Cup or something. We know that story many years later, but that was my standout moment. Outside of the WWE, he has received recognition as a Latin American and Hispanic pioneer in other promotions. Middle of 96, he was a part of the short-lived American Wrestling Federation. He was in a championship match with Cowboy Bob Orton and Tito Santana, along with other legends like Sergeant Slaughter, Gentleman Chris Adams, and Jumpin' Jim Brunzell. He actually was in a TNA taping in 2006. He was mentioned by Conan, along with Carlos Colon, Mil Mascaras, and the Guerrero family. And that was part of an on-character celebration when LAX became the NWA World Tag Team Champions. And Conan, you got to wonder how Conan feels right now, because he credits him with teaching a lot about the politics of wrestling and the things you need to do in the ring to be a success in this business during his time in WCW. And then 2003 and going forward, World Wrestling Council approached Pedro Morales and offered holding an anniversario event in his honor, but he declined for 10 years. But then he finally accepted in 2013 the honoree of Anniversario 40. I'm sure MF could, I'm sure I butchered that pronunciation. I apologize for that. MF could, I know, nail that. But, modern fan reaction was also positive in regards to the historical significance of his accomplishments. I consider him one of the greatest Intercontinental Heavyweight Champions of all time. And one of the greatest, to me, he's in my class of all time, of WWE wrestlers of all time. Is he the greatest? Not quite, with all due respect, but he's definitely within my top 50. If I had like a power ranking of like the top 50 of all time, he would definitely be in that category, without a doubt. The Mundos Network, they published an article in 2012, listing him as one of the most memorable Latino wrestlers in WWE history. And he was a trainer, and he trained Dory Funk Jr. Dory Funk Jr. was trained by Pedro Morales, and that's when Dory Funk went into the Hall of Fame with Terry Funk, of course. So he has a legacy, man. He inducted into the WWF Hall of Fame class of '95. Let me tell you about that Hall of Fame class, man. One of the greatest of all time. Antonino Rocca, the Big Cat, Ernie Ladd, George the Animal Steele, Ivan Putski, the Fabulous Moolah, and the Grand Wizard. Not bad company, let me tell you that. Savio Vega inducted him. And he held that World Heavyweight Championship for nearly 3 years. And also the first Latino to become World Heavyweight Champion. So many accomplishments. And yes, there are so many great stories. Unfortunately, we were, little kids, when we first got into professional wrestling. We've been watching it for like 30 years or so. And fortunately, we don't know much about him because we didn't really get to see him when we were, just getting into this. But you have a little thing called the WWE Network. You want to check out any of his great moments. And what you really have to do, his greatest moment forever and a day will be the day in 1971 when he beat Ivan Koloff for the WWF Championship in Madison Square Garden. He was a hero at that moment because Ivan Koloff, Russian. The tensions were high with the USA and the USSR. Him winning that, changed the landscape of the business. You have to see that match to believe it. I don't think the match was a 5-star or anything, but when he won that title, man, that's the moment I'll never forget. It was actually just 4 days ago, February the 8th, 1971. That's when he did it. And he was also remember, MF, when you mentioned he was the United States heavyweight champion? He was the U.S. champion going into that match. But when he won the big belt, he vacated that title and they actually got rid of it. So that's it. And February the 8th of 71, that's the day. 48 years ago, nearly 50 years ago. He was also a part of the showdown at Shea in 1972 against Bruno Sammartino in what was known as the match of the century. And it's still regarded as one of the best events in the history of professional wrestling. When he beat Koloff, that was the greatest moment. His greatest match, even though I believe it ended in a draw, that will forever be his greatest match. Do you know how long that match lasted, guys? 75 minutes and 5 seconds. That's an hour and 15 minutes, folks. And they fought to what was called a curfew draw because they had curfews. They couldn't go past a certain time. And it's because of that their match ended in a draw. I have to go out of my way to see that fight. I never even knew about that match until this. So that's definitely a match I have to look up in the archives. And if I find it, you better believe I'm going to share it with you guys. Because that's something we gotta watch that. Him and Bruno, could you imagine those two at Shea Stadium? Oh my goodness. That was 5 stars, even though it was a draw. So, but nonetheless, Pedro Morales, you will forever be missed. We'll never forget you. And I know MF I know how upsetting this must be for him because, of the heritage. So, a pioneer of Latino wrestling. And as I always like to say, thank you for the memories. Thank you for the inspiration. And thank you for Pedro Morales. God bless you, brother. Really nothing more to say on this. I could go on all night, but I can't do that. So that's the professor of our show. So Michael Bullock, come on in. Let's get your thoughts on the passing of Pedro Morales. And I never even knew him and Bruno Sammartino, an hour and 15 minutes, curfew draw at Shea Stadium in 72. Wow.
Wow. I mean, yeah, two of the all-time greats in that kind of a match. I mean, that's unreal. I mean, yeah, Pedro Morales definitely one of the all-time greats, and I really didn't get to see much of him. The only time I did get to see him was in that WrestleMania 2 Battle Royal in Chicago back in 1986. And he was in that, and yeah, I mean, the whole world was definitely saddened by this loss, and I mean, these guys pretty much just touched on everything when it comes to it. So, there's rest in peace, Pedro Morales. Yes, thoughts and prayers to you, to your family, all the loved ones who knew this very special person. So, yeah, there's really nothing more that needs to be said. So, Fletch, let's get on to what we're really here to talk about, and that's SmackDown Live tonight.
Yes, indeed. And we're going to start it off with, well, the biggest villain in WWE right now, Charlotte Flair, cutting a promo at the very beginning of the show, basically ripping about, uh, ripping about Becky Lynch getting suspended and that she is now out of WrestleMania, and basically saying that, it's her opportunity now to get even with Ronda Rousey. And it basically also to reiterate that it was Mr. McMahon's decision, Vince McMahon's decision, to take Becky out and put her in as a smart business decision. That did not go over well with the fans at all. And, well, it is what it is. So, with that said, look, what we got here tonight was epic. This was what we expected Charlotte Flair to do. Basically throw it in our faces over the fact that she's going to WrestleMania and Becky's not. And to reiterate the fact of what happened last night on Monday Night Raw, a great continuation. Obviously, she is definitely the enemy number one in the eyes of the IWC, in the WWE universe, in wrestling as a whole. She is without a doubt the most hated person right now in WWE. And they absolutely played it to a T. They did smart booking on this. They knew she was going to get the nuclear heat. They got the nuclear heat. And for all places, to get it out of Toledo, Ohio, and to get them really riled up as they did, they did. They did perfectly. It was perfectly played. There's really nothing more to say. Anthony Floyo, come on in. It's all yours. The queen has ascended the throne, and boy, nobody likes it for one bit. But hey, if you're gonna do the storyline, they're doing it perfectly to the T.
Absolutely. I'll tell you, MF. I mean, wow. We talked about this last night on what ended up being the most controversial, ridiculously Raw of all time. I mean, we talked about how the fans were legitimately griped. Oh, yeah, they were. In more words of Bautista, we have to deal with it, whether we like it or not. And I know nobody likes it, but except for those diehard Charlotte fans. And Derek Ferreira, he said it best. If you saw his Facebook post earlier, he posted on not just his Facebook page, but also the Wrestling Forum Facebook page as well, talking about how this role, he says that this is the best role for Charlotte right now, as that biatch heel, if you will. And no, I couldn't agree with him more. I mean, he definitely agree. Yes, here it is. He said, "This is the absolute perfect role for Charlotte. Biatch again. I don't think she needs to be there, but this entire thing will get Becky Lynch more over than anything before. How many of you hate Charlotte after she was added? That's what they want." And he's absolutely right. WWE got what they ultimately wanted. They wanted that, mainstream media attention and, the nuclear heat. Yep. And you wonder why Vince McMahon is such a smart businessman. That's exactly what he wanted. And they had to find a way to get her in there. That was absolutely perfect. And I think what they're doing is they're doing the face of WWE bit only with the women now. You remember 5 years ago, we saw this with Randy Orton when the Authority were parading him around as the face of the WWE when he was the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. He was the mega over heel, and Daniel Bryan was, the underdog, and you all know how that story played out. That story had a happy ending at WrestleMania 30. We might be on the verge of that here for WrestleMania 35 with Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch as the quote-unquote Daniel Bryan, and Charlotte Flair as the quote-unquote Randy Orton, the face of the company, the face of the women's division. Best for business. So I had a feeling they were going to do it, but this was a classic Charlotte heel promo. I mean, she did fine as a babyface, but I think she's so much better as that spoiled brat heel. That's what it is. And she's got the nuclear heat now. I mean, WWE obviously wanted to keep her as a babyface. They obviously wanted to turn Becky heel, back at SummerSlam. And, that ended up backfiring on them because the fans just went nuts for Becky. And that's the story. Charlotte is much better in the heel role. And it showed in promos like this. She had the crowd under control. The storyline is a mess, but Charlotte and Becky have given very good individual performances despite the shotgun booking here. So that's all we can say on that. That was, I would say by default, this was the segment of the night because we didn't have much to get into on this because a certain match, pretty much ate up all the time and it was welcome. Let me say it like that. So great first heel promo from Charlotte. Give this time, fans. RELAX. Relax. We got a long way to go before the grandest stage of them all, April 7th. So that's all we can say on that. So segment of the night for me. That's all I can say there. So Michael Bullock, come on in. Heel queen Charlotte Flair. She's back.
Oh yeah, she's back in a big way, and that crowd really let her have it. I mean, right now, like you said, guys, she is the most hated person in the IWC right now. I mean, she was basically in our face bragging about how she's going to WrestleMania to face Ronda Rousey for the Raw Women's title, and Becky Lynch is going to be spending WrestleMania at home. I mean, it just pissed off a lot of these fans. A lot of them were not too happy with this, saying that, this Charlotte Flair is, not loved by everybody right now, and basically, who who can blame them? And yeah, heel Charlotte Flair is back in a big way. So, yeah, there's really nothing more that needs to be said. Let's just move right along, Fudge.
All right, and well, we had a match. It was the 3 teams that's going to be in the Women's Elimination Chamber to crown the first ever WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, and just like what happened last night on Monday Night Raw, the losing team would start the match on the Smackdown side. So, of course, we had Fire and Desire, the Iconics, and Carmella and Naomi. And when it was all said and done, Carmella and Naomi gets the victory. Naomi pins Mandy Rose. That means when the Elimination Chamber begins on Sunday night, it will be Fire and Desire versus Sasha Banks and Bayley. Time of the fall at 8 minutes and 36 seconds. Anthony Florio, you lead off.
2.5 to 3 stars, MF. Much better match than last week, I felt. Right team went over. And, you know, but here's the thing that really stood out to me. The Iconics never entered the match. You have to take that into account. They didn't have to carry any of the work. And I'll tell you what, Fire and Desire, Mandy and Sonya, I think, having them start against Sasha and Bayley is a smart move. And, it's a chance for these two to stand out against two proven performers and two former champions in Sasha and Bayley. And I've loved the way that they've built up this match, this women's tag team championship match. They've had these, these vignettes with all 6 teams, putting over the importance of this. I've loved how they've done it. I would like to see more of it, though, regularly, especially now that we're on the road to WrestleMania. So kudos to the WWE. I mean, I know the overall build for the Chamber has not been all that great, but when it comes to this match, I think this is the match that has been built the best. So to me, I think it should be the main event, but then again, I don't know if it will be. I mean, considering that I think they might want to save them for Mania, but we'll see. We'll see. So that's all I can say here. I would probably say for this, somewhere between 2.5 and 3. So definitely better than the match last week. So nothing more to say. So Bullock, Fire and Desire against Bayley and Sasha.
Yeah, and I'm going to give it about 2.5 stars for the effort here. I mean, it was a good match, definitely better than last week. And yeah, for Fire and Desire, if they want to become the women's tag team champions, they got to do what Sasha and Bayley are going to try to do, and that is go the distance. It's not going to be easy against the other teams that are in there. So, yeah, great job by both teams. And, yeah, it was strange that the Iconics didn't get in and basically did their job after the bell. So I think because of that, I think we can automatically say that the Iconics aren't winning this one because they're not winning those women's tag team titles Sunday because, as we always like to say, booking 101 when it comes to that. So I really got nothing more to say. Fletch, I give it to you.
I don't know about that, Michael Bullock. I think we got to keep the Iconics as, below the radar. I don't think obviously they're not going to be the favorites to win it, but you have to at least consider them at least a favorite to win it all because of the fact that, for one, they didn't really have to do anything in this fight. Obviously you Sorry about that. I think I literally muted my mic completely down. So sorry about that. So what I was trying to say was I liked what the Iconics did. So nothing more to say. We'll just move on. I've been having a little technical issues here tonight. Bad time for it to happen, but it's all right. Next thing we had was Miz TV. Shane McMahon was alongside the party as they were talking with the Usos. I could probably call cutout here, guys, if you want. If you guys want to call cutout, by all means, we'll just dive right into the main event if you want. So, do you want to do cutout, guys?
I'm gonna give a small thought on it, just a small quick thought.
All right, go ahead.
They're making the fans choose. That's what they're doing. They're making the fans choose between two teams they like. So the crowd heat wasn't big. They seemed to mostly boo when the Usos super kicked Miz and Shane, though. But it was a good verbal exchange, which built anticipation for their battle on Sunday. So I'm just gonna park it there. Let's get into the gauntlet, MF. I mean, oh my goodness.
The gauntlet was on. Okay, major news, guys. And here's what happened. Unfortunately, Mustafa Ali is out of the Elimination Chamber. He will not compete in the chamber fight on Sunday night. And it's been determined that one of the members of the New Day is going in. We don't know who it's going to be just yet. However, in the gauntlet fight tonight, Kofi Kingston actually took the spot, and they started it. Kofi Kingston with WWE champion, the new Daniel Bryan. Now, here's how we're going to do this. I'm going to tell you the match. I'm going to tell you who won. And at the end of everything, we're going to do the overall review of the match. First off, Kofi Kingston versus the new Daniel Bryan. Kofi Kingston wins the match in 26 minutes and 31 seconds. That means Kofi moves on and he has to fight Jeff Hardy. He defeats Jeff Hardy in 7 minutes and 44 seconds. Next fight after that, Kofi Kingston went one-on-one with Samoa Joe. Kofi Kingston beat Samoa Joe at 9 minutes and 44 seconds. Then it was Kofi Kingston versus AJ Styles. Unfortunately for Kofi, the road ends here. He gets defeated by AJ Styles in 8 minutes and 21 seconds, which meant that the final fight of the night was going to be AJ Styles versus Randy Orton. Randy Orton wins the match in 5 seconds. Therefore, the length of time was about 1 hour, officially about over an hour on the fight clock. But Randy Orton is the winner. And I believe this goes to Michael Bullock, who gets to lead off. Bullock, fight of the night. Oh my God, what a match.
Oh, yeah, this was definitely the fight of the night. But to me, I mean, I think out of all the matches, to me, Daniel Bryan and Kofi Kingston, they were the ones that stole the show. I mean, what can you say? I mean, these two really sold it really well. And if we were just rating the match between Daniel Bryan and Kofi Kingston, I would have given it 5 stars, no doubt, with everything they did. And yeah, to me, Kofi Kingston was definitely the MVP of this gauntlet match. I mean, everything. Yes, even overcoming being attacked by Samoa Joe after the match, and after the match with between him and Joe and AJ Styles. I mean, he came to the rescue, basically was telling Kofi, "Look, you don't have to do this." But we saw a little fire in Kofi Kingston saying, "You know what? I waited too long for this opportunity, and I'm not going to let it go by me." So, yeah, I mean, I really loved it from Kofi Kingston tonight. I mean, and yes, Randy Orton got it done in the end. But with the RKO out of nowhere. So if I had to get, when it comes to a rating overall, ooh, that's tough. I'm gonna give it 4.5. I mean, to me, I could have given it 5 overall, but with the match between Orton and Styles lasting only 5 seconds, I think took away from it a little bit. But yeah, to me, the real MVP was definitely Kofi Kingston here. So nothing more to say, Fletch. I give it to you.
Kofi Kingston has been one of the most underrated guys in WWE today. He's done so much for the company and been so much of an impact player, but yet he's never won the big one. He's never won the WWE Championship or the World Heavyweight Championship. He's been an Intercontinental Champion multiple times. He's been a Tag Team Champion multiple times. He's been a United States Champion multiple times, but he never won the big belt, either if it was the World Heavyweight Championship back in the day or the WWE Championship. For him to get an opportunity, and I hope it is Kofi who gets the shot at the title in the chamber, because he deserves it. And yes, he was the MVP of the fight. I totally agree with you, Michael Bullock. 4.5 stars, fight of the night. This was an incredible match. Daniel Bryan and Kofi Kingston, you gotta go out to see this fight. And even Samoa Joe versus Kofi was a good match too. I would recommend you guys watching that match as well. So all in all, a great thing, great showing. Yes, I know a lot of people are kind of poo-pooing over the fact that Randy won it, but then again, it was an epic RKO out of nowhere where he hit AJ Styles. He caught AJ Styles with his pants down, no pun intended, but he did. But again, great way to close the show, great way to end the night for SmackDown Live. You could not have wrote a better script there. Well done, guys. Anthony Floyo, it's all yours.
I agree. 4.5 for the overall. I mean, Michael Bullock and I, we had a SmackDown chat this evening, and we agreed Daniel Bryan and Kofi Kingston MF, that was a 5-star classic, without question. Even with the nonsense with Big E and Xavier and Rowan, we overlooked it because Kofi got the fall. That's what did it. Kofi winning that, going over the new Daniel Bryan. That alone made it a 5-star classic. So, well done. That was freaking awesome. The other matches, I would say second best was Kofi and Joe. I agree with that. And the other matches were, okay at best and really good main event. Kofi's gotten by for years working tag matches and getting roughly every third match off. In one night, he made up for a lot of those off nights. The finish was, yes, predictable with Orton winning, but not necessarily in a bad way. They ran really short on time as they had to cut away almost instantly after Orton got the fall. They had to go right into Temptation Island. So that's what happened there. So in case you're wondering, Bullock, that's why Orton and Styles only lasted 5 seconds. Time constraints. They don't have those overruns anymore. SmackDown never had an overrun. Raw did. But they finally got rid of that after a while, and I'm glad they did. So 4.5 stars. It reminded me so much of that gauntlet match we had on Raw last year. Seth Rollins was the Iron Man, an hour and 5 minutes. Kofi just about matched it. I think he was in there for exactly an hour. So I've always been high on Kofi's work, and tonight I gained a newfound respect for Kofi Kingston. And MF, you're absolutely right. And Bullock too. MVP of the match, abso-freaking-lutely. But he also deserves more opportunities for the WWE Championship. That's all I can say on that. I know the New Day. I know they want to keep the New Day together. I can understand that. But all good things must come to an end. And I think someday, sooner or later, they should go their separate ways. And hopefully Kofi will finally get his moment that he should have had a long time ago. I think if there's a best superstar to win that has yet to win the world title in any form, without a doubt, it's Kofi Kingston, hands down. So nothing more to say. Amazing gauntlet match. We knew it was going to be great. My heart breaks for Mustafa Ali, especially because he was a 205 Live guy. You know how I am about that show. So, oh man, what a match. And MF, Brian and Kofi, who would have thought SmackDown would have 2 5-star classics at this point of the year already, when they didn't even have any last year.
Mm. No, you're absolutely right. And yeah, without a doubt, it's been 2 5-star classics already this year. They've had an incredible year, to say the very least, and there's really nothing much to add to that. So, with that said, we're just going to get into the overall review. Far, far, far and away a tremendous show, to say the very least. Look, the body of work of everybody was amazing. I could easily give this a solid 7.5 out of 10. The gauntlet was amazing. Charlotte Flair's promo was amazing. Even the 3-team women's tag team fight was great. The only downside the whole night was the Miz TV, but other than that, the whole show was actually really well done. So actually, I could even go even higher. I'll say 8.5 out of 10. I thought they did better than anything else on Monday Night Raw. So, Anthony, I give it to you. I got 8.5.
Absolutely correct. That's exactly right, MF. 8.5 for me as well. I mean, you could go higher, but, you know, the women's match, as fine as it was, could have been a little better. And then you had that McMiz TV segment with Miz and Shayna and the Usos. And other than that, I mean, Charlotte, that scathing heel promo, brilliantly done. And then that epic gauntlet match. I mean, yes, Raw may have been the more newsworthy show because of the whole Charlotte situation. And of course, the Revival finally getting their long overdue moment. But Kofi and Daniel Bryan, that match was well put together, ton of fun to watch. I mean, yes, there was interference, but the way it played out made the surprise finish even better. Kofi winning doesn't impact Daniel Bryan whatsoever. He needed a credibility boost heading into the Chamber, where, you know, he just could have been an afterthought. He could have been just some random guy, but overall, they did a decent job of hitting all the major points and selling the Elimination Chamber event. And they definitely have a couple of launching points for the builds to Fastlane and their side of WrestleMania 35. So absolutely spot on. 8.5. I wasn't sure how they were going to, you know, how it was going to go down, you know, after that solid and newsworthy show last night, but they did it again. They beat Raw again. So you did it, MF. Well done. Great effort from everyone involved tonight. So nothing more to say. Bullock, only 2 words will come to mind when it comes to this SmackDown Live. Kofi Kingston, MVP.
Oh, absolutely. Kofi Kingston was the MVP. So, yeah, I'm going to give this about 8 to 8.5. I mean, far better than last week's show. I mean, the women's match could have been better, but everything else was good. So, there's really nothing more for me to say. So, I'm just going to give it a Fletch. And Fletch, I got one question to ask you. You ready for a little Mikey's mindset? Fletch, you there?
He's got a loaded Mikey's mindset there, Bullock. I'm sure he's
all right. Yeah, he's probably loading it.
Probably getting his notes together. I mean, I know he's got some RWA stuff to get into, and I know he's got some All Elite Wrestling stuff to get into, and whatever else he has. So,
yeah, he's probably getting it all loaded in.
Yeah, just like I do for my points take on Ridiculously Raw.
Oh, we forgot to mention Florio, of course, during that Charlotte Flair segment. She said she's going to be sitting
Yes, she'll be at ringside. Yes, she will
She'll be
be.
at ringside for
She will be
the
sitting at ringside this Sunday night
for the
with Ronda
Ronda
Rousey.
Rousey Ruby Riott
Yes,
title match.
yes, she is. And the question is, where is the man going to figure into this? Will the man be a part of that? We'll find out. So,
Well, we think for sure that maybe in a couple of weeks, because remember,
yeah,
they
suspended her, and then of course Ric Flair has the 70th birthday celebration coming up, and we think that's
I
when the
think
man's
Fletch
gonna
is
show
ready
up.
now. You
The
ready
man's gonna
now?
crash the party, and then maybe that's how she'll, start the road to building her back into Mania. So I think MF is ready. So MF,
Yep.
I understand we've got a loaded Mikey's mindset. Hopefully this doesn't go too long.
Not a loaded one. I thought of it, and I'm with the Pedro Morales death, I'm gonna hold off on it for the night. So I only just had New Japan Pro Wrestling stuff, so I'll wait till next week. Out of respect for Pedro Morales, and I know you guys want to get on out of here because you got work commitments. I got work commitments beyond my control, so we're just gonna end it now.
Okay.
Anthony Florio, as always. Friday night is another edition of Strictly Sports. So why don't you just hit that quickly, and then we'll go from there.
Yes. As you know, we didn't do Strictly Sports last week. We had to cancel because not just because of MF being out, but Michael Bullock had a late night, although it was a very special night for him, to say the very least. And I was a little under the weather, if you will. So I messaged Derek and I said, Derek, I think we need to cancel, and Derek agreed. So, and because of that, the docket that we were gonna talk about last week, we're gonna carry over to this week. Super Bowl weekend. That's all it's going to be. It's a recap of Super Bowl weekend. We're going to talk about NFL honors, all the winners. We'll talk about the Hall of Fame class, the newest Pro Football Hall of Fame class that will be enshrined in August, right around my birthday in Canton. And then, of course, our recap of Super Bowl 53 with the New England Patriots defeating the Los Angeles Rams. And then we'll have our newest NHL power rankings. And that's all. And that's it. That's all she wrote. So, and then, gentlemen, sometime this weekend, we got to figure in how we're going to do an Elimination Chamber show. So we'll have to, set the details for that eventually. But for right now, Strictly Sports Friday night, the Super Bowl weekend, and NHL Power Rankings. That's it. So until Friday night, we'll see you then. So have a blessed couple of days, and if there's nothing else, MF, let's put a bow on this thing.
All right, and we'll figure that out. We'll get it straightened out. So that's it, guys. Have a good night. For Anthony Floyo, for Michael Bullock, I'm Michael Fletcher. Like the video, leave a comment at the bottom, share with all your friends on all the social media platforms, and we will see you guys next time for Strictly Sports Friday night, 10:30 Eastern on the Tone 25. Until then, it is Go MF Michael Fletcher. You know the routine, everybody. Hugs and hand pounds. We out. Have a good night, everybody, and so long for now. Bye bye.